So recently I received a comment on my video. In fact, it was one of my first, or I should say, uh, the initial few videos, one of those initial few videos that I made. I think it was on Jira, of course, or I think it was like 4 years ago. And that particular video was on Jira best practices. I think it was maybe 5 years ago. I don't really remember, but so that was basically a video where I talked about the best practices of maintaining your Jira instance. And in that particular video, I talked about things like how to start using Jira, how to keep track of all the changes that you have been doing. But most importantly, I want to focus. I basically talked about the importance of doing some kind of requirement gathering in the beginning. So let us say there is a company and that company wants to maybe move to Jira from another tool, or maybe they are evaluating Jira, and you are given that responsibility in your organization to evaluate Jira, or to maybe bring in Jira and roll it out for maybe a specific team, or maybe for the entire organization. And that is what I used to do quite a lot. I mean, I still do it, but these days Jira is quite popular. People know about Jira. There is already a lot of information online. There are a lot of people who are actually sharing this knowledge online, and things are much better. But it was not really the case 10 years ago, for example, when Jira was not that popular. And the great thing about, or the good thing about Jira is also a bad thing. It can be a bad thing, and that thing is actually the power of customization, the power of things that you can configure easily. And people who started using Jira, let us say around 20 years ago, they made a lot of administrators. And when you have the admin rights in Jira, you can actually do a lot of wonderful things, but at the same time, not realizing that it can cause problems later on. And of course, I've talked about this in the past, but today I wanted to focus on one specific area, and that is how to keep track of all the requirements and at the same time all the configurations that you are thinking of implementing in Jira, or maybe you want to basically keep track of things somewhere, and maybe you want a way to maybe find out what was the transition in that particular workflow, or what was the condition in that specific workflow maybe 2 months ago, and who made that change. So right now, of course, if you look at the Jira audit log, I'm of course talking about Jira Server. I think you can also do it on the cloud version, but there is an audit log where you can keep track of things. But the question that I received, so going back to the original question, the question was how to store this information. Now, what I used to do, and this is, by the way, I have also shared in my book. So, just sharing my one of the chapter in the book. So there is a chapter 17, where I talked about Jira best practices, and there is one. The very first section is Jira customization process, and how to capture the requirements and how to document it. And I've talked about the change control board. So today let us talk about how to capture the requirements. So there is no one good way of doing it. What I used to do, and I still prefer doing, is maintaining a spreadsheet, because when I look at a spreadsheet, I can actually easily look at things. And the reason why I prefer spreadsheets is because you can have different tabs. So maybe issue types and issue type schemes, then workflows and workflow schemes, and so on. And when you have a spreadsheet, you can actually create a table. You can map things to different other things. And in that spreadsheet, in the beginning, let us say, once you start capturing the requirements, let us say from the stakeholders, So imagine there is a team, let us say your legal team, they want to use Jira, and you want to help them. So start talking to them, understand what they are doing right now, and then before you can actually start doing things in Jira, make a note of potential configurations, like what issue types they need, what workflow they need. In the spreadsheet, maybe maintain, maybe create those diagrams, and then maybe you can discuss it with them. And once you reach to an agreement, so based on these configurations, maybe you can show them a pilot project where they can start playing with it, and of course they will have feedback. Identify stakeholders who will be responsible for giving you feedback. So those stakeholders could be, let us say, the management people, but at the same time also have some actual team members who will be actually using the Jira on a day-to-day basis. So for capturing the requirements, there is no right or wrong way. Do whatever works for you. My preference is spreadsheets, but you can also maintain a document. It can be just a Word file or any document. It could be a text file, to be honest. I prefer working on text files quite a lot. If you follow my other channel, my Blackberry Boy channel, I talk quite a lot about org mode in Emacs, which is a great way of managing notes, to-do items, and any document which is in a text format. Because when you have a text format document, you can actually version control it, and you can actually open it anywhere. You don't really need MS Word, for example, to open that. But if you're talking about an organization, and if that organization already has, or they are using Excel, then I think go for it, because Excel is, people are familiar with Excel, and they can organize things. They can actually look at it, they can modify, and they can also give feedback in that particular Excel sheet, or maybe a Word document. But I thought I'll probably talk about one more thing, one more way of doing it. So if by any chance you have Insight installed on your Jira server version, I guess hopefully it will also come to the Jira cloud version, because now you have Insight on cloud, but it is still getting there. It has some features, but not all the server features. So if you have Insight on server, what you can also do, you can actually create one schema in Insight, and that schema can actually contain all the configurations of your Jira instance. And once you have those configurations and you start storing them in your Insight schema, the good thing about Insight is that you can actually see for each and every object the change history. So just like your Jira issue, you have the history, a change history of all the objects, and that will actually give you a very good information about your changes that people have been doing in Jira. So this is of course one another way of doing it. There is also one more way of doing it, just to keep track of all the configurations. You can actually create some kind of let us say, so I talked about Excel sheet, and preparing this Excel sheet in the beginning is possible, but updating it, maintaining it can be not always straightforward. So what you can also do, and what I also used to do, and still do actually, I use the Jira REST API to pull in information from Jira and store it in an Excel sheet, for example. Let us say list of all the workflows, or all the statuses, and all the schemes, and all the screen schemes, all the custom fields, and all the custom fields on a specific screen, and so on. And you can do it, of course. I mean, not everything is possible using the Jira REST API, but you always have the option to use script runner if you have script runner. And if you have been following my channel, I think I have actually talked about all of these things in bits and pieces. So for example, if you want to interact with Jira Java APIs, you can actually take a look at my script runner videos, where I have talked about different examples, not only doing something with Jira issue, but also to do something with the configurations of Jira. I think I have made videos on things like how to get a list of all the issue types, screens, projects, issue type screen schemes, and so on. And if you want to do something similar with the REST API, you can of course take a look at my REST API videos. What I normally do, I keep a list of all these endpoints. somewhere handy so that I can run them immediately. I prefer using Talent API Tester, which is an extension in Chrome or any Chrome-based browser. So, for example, I use Brave, which is based on Chromium, and you can actually install any Chrome app. So, the good thing about this Talent API Tester is that with the help of these endpoints that I have configured with the token authentication, I can actually hit these endpoints and take a look at the JSON, and it will also, this Talent API Tester will also pass the JSON for you. So if you go to the top right corner, there is a Talent API Tester. You can take a look at it. It is really good. It will let you do a lot of wonderful things quite easily, basically playing with the REST API. You can also use Postman, but I'm happy with Talent API Tester. So these are some of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, because this is actually a very important topic. If you are, let us say, preparing for a job where you are asked, where you might be judged, or someone is probably trying to understand what exactly is your experience level with Jira and other tools, I think they might ask you this question, and I thought I'll probably help you. I mean, don't worry about the job or exam, but I think it is more about doing the right thing and doing the right thing that actually works for you. So there is no, I'm not really saying that use Excel sheets or use spreadsheets or use text or Insight. I'm just trying to give you my thoughts in the past, because I'm a consultant. I think for the past roughly, I think I have been helping others, organizations, teams, to use Jira, get the most out of tools like Jira and of course Atlassian tools, other Atlassian tools, for more than 10 years. I think it has been. I think I first started doing something with Jira, something serious with Jira in 2007. So it has been 14 years now, and I remember that when I used to take a look at Jira instances where there were 1500 custom fields, and I mean, to be honest, I still see them, but that is the reality. But a lot of these things can be avoided if you start this process in a right way. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it is possible to perform cleanup. It is possible to get rid of these unused configurations, but it is a painful process, and in most of the cases, people usually start living with these 1500 custom fields or 500 workflows and so on. So try to keep track of your requirements and create some kind of a standard. And when you are responsible for your Jira instances, convince your team and challenge them if they ask you to maybe create a field which is not really needed. Don't just look at Jira as a tool, but also try to understand their process. So you may be a Jira administrator, but think of yourself as a consultant, someone who can maybe help the team get the most out of the tool. But you don't have to be tool oriented. You can also be process oriented. You can actually learn or maybe help them to basically work in a right way, or basically whatever works for your organization. I'm talking about things like, let us say, if you're working with HR team or legal team, they're of course non-technical teams, but you can be working with I'm sure you will be working with a lot of software development teams, and usually when you're working with software development teams, they don't really they usually have less patience. If they ask you to create a workflow, they expect the workflow to have those 15 statuses with 20 transitions, but you should learn and you should not hesitate in challenging them, because people who are developers or developing code, they might not they just want a tool that will work exactly the way they want. So you can also challenge them. You may not be a developer, or you may have some development experience in the past, but never hesitate doing the right thing when it comes uh, to using a tool like Jira, because you probably know what is best and what really works. Because if things get out of control, then they will complain, and you will have to perform the cleanup, or maybe you will be responsible for maintaining maintaining the Jira instance, and also make sure the performance is good. So consider yourself as the owner of the tool, not really just as don't really treat yourself as an admin or administrator. You are the owner of the tool. You're responsible for maintaining it, and people use Jira to get their work done. People use Jira uh, to uh, to work efficiently, to collaborate, and you can actually, you play a really important role when it comes to implementing these tools. So these are some of my thoughts that I wanted to share today, and I'll probably end now. I hope you I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much.